For centuries, the idea of the missing link has captivated the brightest minds in science. In the 19th century, Dalen Quace Carbuncle believed he had found the answers. In this rare moving and talking picture from 1849, he explains his findings.
Fellow colleagues, these, once believed to belong to a sailback creature from the Mesozoic era, I believe are actually part of the headgear of an ancient man-like creature, a missing link, one might say. I call Pithecanthropus buffooneri.
And now, nearly 175 years later, there have been billions of sightings from trillions of people claiming to have seen the wild buffoon. And now, here, in these remote forests, remarkable evidence of the buffoon. Amateur video seems to prove indefinitely that the buffoon does indeed exist. We do warn you, what you are about to see may be disturbing to some viewers.
Oh my god, could it be the buffoon?
Oh, thank God. I've been walking through these woods for hours. I'm looking for Blockbuster.
Oh my god.
I
Oh my
got
god.
something I gotta return this
He's coming.
DVD.
He's coming
Please
right
help
for
me,
us.
for God's sake.
Absolutely remarkable footage of one of the most majestic creatures ever to stride the globe. This could be the evidence needed to prove that the wild buffoon does indeed exist. And now, this. That can't be good. So I got the hive all cleaned up. You can see all the parts and pieces scattered around here. Here's the final piece. I'm going to set this all up before I go get the bees. So let's take a look at all these components and slap them together. Start with the obvious thing. This is the stand, the elevated stand that the whole hive sits on. And its sole purpose just to keep it off the ground. Pretty straightforward. Now, I'm not an expert. I don't remember what everything's called. I always just called this the landing strip. And basically just the entryway. Basically the bees kind of go up this ramp, enter the hive proper. Next is the screen bottom board. And essentially just a screen. Anything that they drop or whatever falls on the screen, and when I make my observations of the hive, I can kind of see what's going on in there, any parasites or things like that. We have another bottom board. This actually makes the hive entrance. You see it sits a little further out, and this is for ventilation. So the bees will enter through here, kind of crawl their way up through the hive. Next, we have the hive box itself. It's on there like that. And now we can put the frames in. Not a whole lot of flowers, wild or otherwise, for the bees to gather nectar from. So to supplement that, gonna add this feeder box. And I've made just a simple syrup, sugar and water. And until there's enough flowers for them to gather nectar from, I'll leave this in there. And that will substitute all of their sugary needs. So here are our frames that we made. Our experimental wax that will hopefully work. I'm gonna leave it like that for now. Definitely room for another frame, but I just want to make sure once I get the queen cage in here, I got enough room. So let's leave it like that for now. Next thing that goes on is going to be the inner cover. And on top of that, it's the outer cover. Some sort of goo. Gross. I don't know what that is. I keep touching it though. So that's the hive put together. Just one box for now. As the colony grows, I'll add another box, and then if things go pretty good this summer, I'll put a honey super on there, maybe 3 boxes tall. It's an empty hive right now, and we need to solve that problem. I'm gonna go and get those bees, and we're gonna dump them in there. It's gonna be radical. Stay tuned.
Meanwhile, back at the Legion of Doom.
Well, I made it. Here's our box of bees. I got my bee suit because I'm a big baby man. I don't like getting stung at all. And I've got my simple syrup. So the only thing there is to do here is put this suit on and dump these guys in the hive. This is how bees come in a box. There's, I think, 3 pounds. There's several thousand bees in this. And in this blob, they're swarming around 2 things. There's a feeder can full of simple syrup, and there's also the queen cage. And it's time to let them out. Just about ready to go here. I got a couple of important tools. Most important tool is this. This is the Hive tool. Got kind of like a hook. This is like a kind of a chisel edge. Really helps you get the frames and stuff moved around, even kind of out of the hive if you need to, especially once we're later in the season and everything's starting to stick together. Very important tool. Other tool is the bee brush. Very, very soft bristles. Trying to put the components back on, I can kind of brush the bees out of the way so I don't squish them. Used to be a goose wing, actually, they used to use. But I did run into kind of a conundrum. I couldn't find my spritz bottle. And normally what you want to do is spritz the bees with some of the sugar water, and that coats them, and so they can all kind of like, a bunch of them can fall as a big old blob into the hive. And sure, they're still going to fly around and stuff, but they're going to be pretty preoccupied by, eating the sugar water off of their bodies. It's very unfortunate, can't do it, but the show must go on. These bees are going in that box one way or another. Just going to start by filling this feeder with this simple syrup. Can't really see, but there's little grates on the side here, so the bees can walk on the grates just above the level of the water and drink, thus not drowning. Or at least the smart ones won't drown anyway. Have to keep checking it here and there throughout the weeks. This time of year they'll go through it pretty quick. Put a piece of cardboard over the feeder so when I dump them in, some of them don't fall into that water and drown right away. So there's a top piece here that we're going to pop off, and right under it should be the feeder can. And there it is. This is the feeder can, and I can't remember if this thing here is holding the queen cage in. I think it is. So I'm going to just pry this can out. There's going to be a bunch of bees stuck to it, no doubt. Yeah, there they are. Not as many as I thought it would be. Gently poke them off. Perhaps bee brush can help us out here. They're going to start flying around here pretty quick. From my experience, they're pretty docile until you start really breathing on them. Maybe I just have bad breath. But this right here is going to be the queen cage. There's going to be a lot of bees on this thing. Staple holding it in. I don't know if this old hive tool's got what it takes. I think I need a little screwdriver. Come on, Mr. Screwdriver. I think I'm actually just breaking this strap. Alright, well. Screwdriver has failed us. But that's okay. We got it anyway. Now, this here is the queen cage. There's all kinds of bees on her because she smells nice. That's what they tell me. She's in there. I don't know how well you can tell, but she is the biggest one in there. Let's see if we can get a good shot. There's a bunch of what they call attendant bees with her. They're from the original hive. There she is. She's in the background. Yeah, you probably can't see. But this queen isn't actually from the hive where these other bees come from. And so that's why she's in a cage. If she was just let out, then because she smells different than the other bees, they would have a tendency to kill her. Now, the way around that is there's a little candy plug in this cage, and it'll take a few days for the bees to eat the candy. And by the time they do that, the pheromones from this queen would have imbued all into the hive, and everyone will smell the same. She'll walk out of there, and everyone will be happy. That's the plan anyway. I've never had one fail before, but now that I say it out loud, I probably will. Oh, that's interesting. It's interesting. It's on both ends. Never seen that before. Cool. It's actually neat because what I've always done is traditionally you put these things candy side down, but I read somewhere if one of these attendant bees were to die and fall onto that hole and plug it up, the queen can't get out. But now with the two-sided plug, she can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple frames out just so there's a nice area for these bees to fall into. Then I'll put them back in. So without further ado, this is what you've all been waiting for, no doubt, is this enormous swarm coming out of here. The one flaw in my bee suit is that these pants I'm wearing are just normal overalls, and they can absolutely sting through them. So it will be very unfortunate if they do. And I'm a little fatter than I ought to be, so these pants are a little tighter than they ought to be too. So anyway, here we go. And we just give it a good shake. And you really just shake them out. They're not very happy about it. They'll live. There's still a bunch of bees still in there. So what I'm going to do is I just leave it on the ground right next to the hive. And they'll eventually fly out of there, make their way back into the hive. So let me put this frame in. And I'm going to kind of have this queen cage floating around in there. And have this guy being careful not to squish bees. Now, it's not possible to not squish any. And I'm really trying not to get stung either. Not only just because I don't like it, but when they sting you, they release a pheromone, and that alerts everybody else that they're very angry and that you should be stung. And I don't like that. They don't like that. Just trying to get this queen cage to kind of stay still. Uncover this guy. That wasn't really so bad without spraying them. That went pretty good, actually. And they're not too angry. So that's really good. They don't like this. They don't like getting caught in the bee brush. That's why it's so soft. So if their little legs get caught, they don't, they're not ripping them off. So now is the time to button them up. Yeah, sort of very gingerly. I think we made it. I don't think we crushed anybody. That's cool. These guys gotta come in. Go in there. Guys hanging onto my arm. Get off me. Well, there it is. That's the hive all put together. I'll be checking on it periodically. I'll come back in a couple of hours and check on this box of bees, make sure that they're coming out. They're probably still eating whatever residual sugar water is on the sides. In a couple of days, I'll check that queen cage, and once she's out of there, I'll take that out and I'll put in the rest of the frames to fill in the gaps. As I said before, I'm not really an expert on anything. It's just something I enjoy to do. I think I'm fairly decent at it. I really appreciate you joining me on this journey, building the frames, getting the bees in here, having a nice populated hive. It's nothing I haven't done before. It's the first time I've ever filmed it. So I really appreciate everybody watching. I'll see you on the next one.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you're enjoying what you see on the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon for any notifications from future videos. See you on the next one.